Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes a todos.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I come from Colombia, and this presentation I will share with you is a joint work by my teachers, Dr. Martí Boada and José Manuel, to whom I'm strongly grateful. That's Dendroculture trying to bring people to a new view of the woods. But you might wonder, what is Dendroculture? As Dr. Martí Boada says, that's the human relationship with certain woods or trees which have safeguarded, which have protected the nature for different social or cultural reasons. Vis-à-vis Dendroculture, we have a particular tree which tells us about some features due to its shapes or sizes, as well as age and other features and values. The sacred character of woods show us that there is Dendroculture, a cultural need of protection vis-à-vis monumental tree. We can find a remote model of conservation. In 1951, an anthropological study tells us that all cultures worldwide have had a deep relationship and deeply rooted with trees and woods. No culture was indifferent to this living organism with more than 80,000 species around the planet. A ritual dance, Mapuche dance, around a so-called Araucaria in Chile. That's the name of the tree, a taxonomic classification which is cultural and natural. We can find that trees and woodlands have their functional features which are derived from a social and cultural function. They can be symbolic. The linderos, such as the cork tree, cork oak grove, are a place of encounter, of meeting for people. They are a value within the maps to determine as landmarks, to be used as landmarks, yes, between different plots. As a fence, they would act as a fact. As for symbolic, the cypress, the 100 years cypress in the house in front of the bone house of Miguel de Cervantes, a social indicator. It was used as an indicator, a mark of hospitality. It meant right to bread and water, a cypress in front of the bone house of Miguel de Cervantes. We can also find their ornamental function due to their decoration values in gardens or artistic landscapes. In the garden sequoia from the Mont Seigne mountain, its flowers as well as the fruits, which also orient the type of diversity they are attracting. In the Devesa Urbana, the urban forest, urban woods of Girona, next to here, the sculptures are also relevant to that. From the trunk itself, an example of this sculpture in Burgos, the trees have also religious values which are determined by ritual or sacred values, as well as funeral site or temple site. From the rituals, we can find some meetings, some matrimonies, ceremonies, such as that one in Ibagué in Colombia. This example of a ritual. The sacred tree, el árbol del chule. Many people get connected to these sacred trees, which are related to saints. Many people went pilgrims went each October to make their offerings to this tree, which is connected to a very important god for agriculture. The woods are very well known and recognized, acknowledged by the UNESCO as sacred woods. The reserve of rain wood, the reserve of the biosphere, Souf, and Luzon sacred wood with therapeutic values and benefits. Another example of sacred wood is the Tamil Nadu in India. It is the reservoir of water for a whole community. Not only it provides water but also drugs. That's the raw material for the Ayurvedic medicine, where the priest is charged of guaranteeing the well-being of the community as well as the health of animals, of the cattle. As a value, the trees are temples. They are a space for meditation, which is very common in the Far East countries. It is a remarkable tree because people think that Buddha reached illumination throughout this tree. Also, we have these funerary trees in León, Asturias, the Tejo de San Cristóbal, also from the British Islands, and the Druids, these Celtic cultures. That is the Tejo de Yew of San Cristóbal de Valbuena in León. The trees have also their political features, and these political features are there because they represent a country or the interest of a community. As an example, we have the Guernica tree in the Basque country, which was bombed by the Spanish aviation during Civil War. We can find also some classification of these trees for the feeding of people or the cattle. They are producers of carbohydrates. They are attractors of protein, such as hackberry. In Conca de Tremp in Catalonia, these animals were captured when they were given some herbs, the muérdago. Here we have these olm oaks, also through a bird which was put as a hook to attract animal, so we could provide animal proteins to the inhabitants. The Oleocoles, 100 years old olive tree of Las Fargas de Arión in Ulldecona in the region of Montsià in Catalonia. We also have carbs producers such as the Castaño el Campano, the chestnut tree el Campano in the region of El Bierzo in León, and its leaves were as a shelter for the wood makers as well as the coal workers. This is the example of the shadow maker. The nickname of this sycamore is with stones. In the case of energetics used to feed ragging animals such as carob trees. We have this example of the carob tree in the Parque Güell from Gaudí in Barcelona. And also the rural trees which were used to feed pigs for the production of the Iberian pigs. They are fed with these glands, with these achems. The producers are used for the construction of aperos and the fibers also for the production of several tools. That's the case of this willow tree. There are also trees used as seed plants, which are used for the regeneration of forest. That's the case that we just saw at the Montseny, these beech trees. Genotypes. Here we have a bird raising tree, also other trees used as the trasmocho, the lime tree, and the basis of the trunk is a refugee shelter for the diversity of some insects and animals. Trasmocho in the Basque country, and we also find musical trees. They facilitate the folkloric meetings to hold concerts in such as the Aya de la Grevolosa, a magnificent site for the celebration of concerts which take place in October. There are also trees with therapeutic value, these curative benefits, such as the Freiburg lime tree in Germany. It is well known as a relaxing tree. The patients suffering from epilepsy, they were brought to these curators, to these trees, the shadow of these trees. And there are also the Carvalho de Santa Margarita Galicia, the oak tree from Galicia, known by its healing properties. It was built above, under a well, and it was said that they could be used to heal people suffering from lepra. The bark was used as lucky, something that would bring luckiness, as well as for toothache. All these values to bring people to nature allow us to better understand the environment, to remember this popular sabiduría, this popular wisdom. These are education strategies, and this allows to foster sustainable tourism processes also. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, thanks a lot to all of you, and now we can maybe relax here in the front, and it's up to you to ask some questions, have any ideas, comments, suggestions, something else. I can't see anything because the light is very strong, but we can hear your voices.
It's great presentations by everyone. I'm Shirley from the European Forest Therapy Institute. I just have a question for Michael. Michael, I know it's not your presentation, it was Dr. Coter's presentation, but Michael, or Kevin talks about the standardization of language and terminology, and I know from a health perspective it's very important that people understand what exactly forest therapy is. And I know you're publishing an international handbook for forest therapy, so I'm just wondering, I have two questions. So one is, what is your definition of forest therapy? Is it different than forest bathing? And the second one is, maybe can you say a little bit about what the standards are so the international community knows what to expect? Thank you.
Yeah, I expect a lot, but my problem is I don't know. The book, it will be published in December, and maybe I can give your question to the other experts here.
Okay, and I can talk about the situation of Japan. And the question was you want to know the difference of Shinrin-yoku and forest therapy. And in Japan, forest therapy is a registered trademark word. So if we do forest therapy at Forest Therapy Road with forest therapists, they are certified, then we call it forest therapy. But if we we do them at other places and with other guides, we call it Shinrin-yoku. It's the situation of Japan.
Okay. I think in South Korea, we are still in the therapeutic effect of forest environment stage. So we have to make more evidence. So at the time, we can go to the forest therapy, and finally, we can go to the forest medicine. So I think I cannot say we need more evidence and we need more time, but many people love to contact with nature environment. So many people love to go to the forest area. So we need, I think we have to make more evidence and systems. Okay.
I mean, I think this is an interesting area that we'll have to consider moving forward. I think obviously there's an established position in Japan and Korea, and I think that gives us a good starting point. But for Europe, I think this is part of the discussion. What do we mean by forest therapy? And we have to agree the criteria so it's more standardized. And also if we're trying to get traction or get buy-in from health providers and insurance companies and others, I think if we can all be giving out a consistent message and saying the same things, I think it would be helpful and more constructive. And just one comment, that forest therapy, the use of the word therapy has a lot of connotations in the UK. So a lot of the providers don't like the word therapy because it medicalizes it. And we use the term quite often green care, which is more holistic or slightly wider. So I don't have the answers, but I'd be happy to be part of the discussion to try and arrive at a conclusion to this. And maybe this is a challenge for the Congress more widely. How do we provide a position statement, or do we arrive at a consensus in terms of that description of forest therapy?
Bueno, yo puedo hablar del conocimiento tradicional.
I can talk you about traditional know-how how important is to relax in trees as a healing process, which can be complemented by some other healing drugs. We see in Eastern countries that meditation is very important for health. It's about recovering traditional values. You see how Oriental cultures show us that the first healing step consists of relaxation and tranquility provided by forest.
Make the question, please, and introduce yourself.
Thanks.
¿M'has entès? Vale.
And maybe first, before, just one comment from my side to your question. I think there is a difference between forest bathing and forest therapy, but not as a clash of cultures. But I think forest therapy should be focus something else more, indications or illnesses than only mental health. Maybe if you can. Yeah. Back to the audience.
Hola, bon dia, soc l'Anna Sanitges.
My name is Anna Sanetjas, forest engineer of the Montseny World Biosphere. My question is, did you evaluate whether there is any direct relationship in between the level of preservation of forest and its capacity to provide health? Another question. Can you give us any advice to improve the forest potential?
Yeah, maybe Mr. Lafferty.
I'm sorry, I didn't have
Oh, okay.
Could someone just describe the question?
I try to. Is there, the first question was, is there maybe you can repeat and help me. The light is so strong.
Preguntaba si hay si han estudiado o evaluado si hay una relación directa.
Did you study whether there is a direct relationship in between the level of preservation of the forest and its potential to provide health? Is there any relationship? This is my first question. And secondly, can you give forest managers, can you advise us how this could be improved, this potential of the forest could be improved?
Thank you for the question. I think there's two parts to the question. I think we can, and I'll answer the second part first if I may. We can provide forest managers with a clear programme of treatments that they can use in terms of creating a forest design that improves the accessibility for the woodlands in and around town criteria. So we have a clear range of treatment options about what we do over a period of time to improve the sustainable management of those sites, but also in terms of their access. And one of the key interventions is the physical intervention was the intervention that was shown to be cost effective. So even if we didn't prove that we could change population mental health, what we did manage to show is that we can increase physical activity levels, we can increase the local community's connectedness to nature. So for the people who do visit those woodlands and around town sites, they benefit. And some of the designs we can share with other land managers or forest managers about simple treatments that you can use to improve the access and the effectiveness of that woodland or that forest design. The first question in terms of the biodiversity, I wasn't looking specifically at the effect in terms of the biodiversity impacts of the intervention. We were looking very much at the perspective of people and behaviour change. So I couldn't answer that question, but generally what we do as we try and create more green corridors to link existing green spaces. And this adds part of the solution by creating networks of green spaces as opposed to islands of green spaces.
Yeah. Maybe any other?
And I'm a forest scientist too, so we have only standard how to manage how to grow optimize the wood productions. But nowadays we also believe that the standard for the healing forest, it is necessary. So we Korean forest scientists try to make some guidelines. And actually, for the enhance the thermal comfort in the forest, we have to increase the density of the trees. But at the time, the viewing comfort, visual comfort is down. So we have to find the balance. So we try to enhance the tree density for the resting area. And usually, so we have different standard for the resting area and the playing area. So we try to make this kind of standard for managing the forest. So in South Korea, we cut trees and plant coniferous trees because many people believe coniferous trees make more chemical compound good for human health. But nowadays we cannot change the tree species because we can find how to use the forest for the phytoncide pact. So we usually find the place which has a good place for the collect air. And compared to daytime, in night time, the concentration of the phytoncide is higher. So this is the way, one of the way how to use the phytoncide in the forest. Finally, if you cannot find the phytoncide in the forest, touch the leaves with your hand and smell your hand. It's one of the methodology. Or break the leaves. So at the time, the phytoncide concentration in the forest is increased. So we don't want to change the tree species, and we try to find how to use the forest good for health control.
Another?
Well, Kevin, Lafferty, is Charles Oppie from Global Action Plan, ANFT. How do you invite people to the woods in the program around woods near towns? How do you get people to change their behaviour, their habits, and get them to go to the woods?
Well, thank you for the question. We do it through a variety of activities. It tends to be through a community ranger. So that's a dedicated member of staff whose job is to engage the local people who live near the woodlands. So we have family fun days, we have health walks, we also have foraging events, and we have themed events over the year. So we'd have a Halloween walk, we would have Easter hunts. So the programme is quite varied. Some of it focuses on environmental art, some of it focuses on physical activity, walking, cycling. But a lot of it is actually how we would describe it as community engagement. So the ranger or the forester becomes almost partly a social worker. So they have a range of skills, and it's about engaging, speaking to people in the community and trying to encourage or engage them to come along and to some of these taster sessions and some of these trial events. So we have wood turning, we have face painting, we have tree identification, we have leaf identification. So we use a wide range of social engagement activities. But the one observation is that obviously that's intensive in terms of staffing. So part of the Wyatt programme is that it's a combination of the physical intervention, but it's also followed by the social intervention. And I think what we've learned over the years is that we need both. And if you do one without the other, you only benefit a limited number of the community. You don't benefit the ones who don't come. But there's still a challenge, and I don't have the answer to this, is why do some of the people not come, even when we have the social engagement activity? And I think, we know some of the common barriers, and we've done a lot of research around this. Time is one of the barriers, obviously weather, but it's also about the design, and we've referenced this. It's about making sure the canopy covers the right balance, that there's clear entrances and thresholds into the forest, but also that you actually, how do you promote this within the community? Is there signage and waymarking on the town streets, or in the train station, or in the community health centre? Or do we only have the signs and the information in the forest? So we need to help people find the forest, and sometimes this is very simple treatments about finger posts or waymarkers, or about information within the communities as opposed to it being within the forest. So we take a mixed approach to that.
Yeah.
Hola. Es preguntar a los investigadores o a cualquiera.
I would like to ask the researchers or anyone, is there a survey which takes into account important parameters for health, for psychology, such as light, plus, I don't know, the sun more, plus the chemical factors, I don't know. For instance, we can compare it with woodlands or with other areas of bushes. I mean, in bush areas where they can be also trees or aromatic areas with very important substances. Light and the comparison between the trees with more trees or bush areas where there might be more light, as well as aromatic plants. I would like to ask Dr. Boom from the Chiba University, have you worked with Miyazaki? And if so, can you share some of your researches, some of your findings?
Thank you for your question. And now I'm working in the Chungnam National University in South Korea. I was worked in Japan in Chiba National University. So it's a very difficult question. Finally, I think we have to find their favorite forest environment and go there. It's very important. So because people has different memories. So I think forest environment work for the human mental and physiological health. First one is we live in the urban environment. It's a very stressful place. So when we contact with the forest, we can more relaxed compared to forest. But it depends on the person's personality. As example, some people who like pine tree forest, he can easily relax in the pine forest. And some people who like oak forest, he or she can easily relax in the oak forest. So we have to find what kind of forest environment is good for me. So we specialists try to find the relationship to human personal character and the forest environment. So we try to measure the human personal character. Example, some people who easily angry, and some people who are calm. So we expect different personal character make different personal character. People who has different personal character, they like it's hard to say. The point is the important thing is the personal character. So we have to find what kind of forest environment I like. So that is the best place for the relaxation. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe Mr. Lafferty, you have an answer to the first question, or Dr. Hiroko?
Well, I think I would agree with the description. Yeah, it's different for everybody, but a lot of the research does show clearly that the combination of both the woodlands and water is the most powerful combination. So the woodlands where you have a river or you have a pond, this combination of both together seems in the literature and the research to have the most powerful therapeutic effect. So there's an observation in terms of the design. These spaces that have a combination of blue and green provide an added benefit. They're both good on their own, but they're even more powerful together.
Hola, mi nombre es Moisés Hernández.
Could you please speak through the mic? Yes, thank you.
The Dr. Miyazaki experiment, and he is now doing a natural therapy experiment, and he picks up the one element of for five senses like sightseeing or listening to the sound. And he showed that listening and looking at the view of the forest will increase the parasympathetic nervous activity. And he recently showed that if it is combined, that sightseeing and listening to the sound, the effect will become more increased. Yes. That now Dr. Miyazaki doing. Yes.
Bueno, solo quiero hacer una remarca acerca del...
A remark, a contribution to the previous question. I was asking about the definition of wood therapy. From our point of view, wood therapy is the awareness and the recognition of the forest as a balance in all aspects. And forest therapy can be guided or not, but what is relevant is to have guidelines so it is more effective. For instance, we have to acknowledge the balance that we have, and the most important thing, what's the goal for this or that person? What are we looking for? And as you both said, looking for the best place to work, the most appropriate place. If there is a cascade, having a bath at this cascade, why not? The climate, the fruit of a tree, or eating its leaf, or taking its leaf, or the sounds and getting connected to the sound, taking the water from the rivers, from the mountain. All this contributes to an equilibrium. And regarding the third International Conference of Trees, that's about potential for health and well-being, it is relevant to stress that we have to change our values. For instance, instead of looking at the forest as an economic area, we have to look at it as a source for well-being. So we can change this idea, and we will protect the major forests. It is very important to protect them. I think that we should switch our values. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe one comment from my side first before. I think right now there will be a little bit different definitions of forest therapy, but I think in the next month, years, if it's possible, I think we can compare with your guideline and your guideline and maybe the book of Dr. Kotte. And right now in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, in the northeast of Germany, we also develop a curriculum of forest therapy. And I think they will be comparable and are really nearby. And maybe next year we have a really international handbook of all thoughts and definitions to this. Maybe any other comment?
Pienso que es muy válido recuperar ese conocimiento.
I think it's very relevant to collect this international knowledge of indigenous communities, and the example I showed you of India, with the space for meditation in India, these sacred woods which are connected to health and help to the preservation of woods, because there are benefits from health and well-being of people and communities. So the invitation is to valorize, to value these woods in another way, as a connection to nature, not only as an economic benefit for the community in these moments of climate crisis and climate change. We have to switch our values and we have to get closer to the woods.
Yeah, and I saw the sign from the organizers, but maybe one last question to this, or we can talk furthermore in the lunch time. Are there any? One question, okay.
Sí, bueno, son dos, una médica y otra.
Yes, a couple of questions, one sportive and one medical. We talked about the beneficial effects on human health, on mental health. Do we have these benefits to treat addictions? And there is also this interaction between the woods and the people hiking. In Catalonia, we have woods and cyclists. If I ride with my bike, do we get benefits from these therapies, or is it better to go walking, to hike?
Sounds like a simple question. The researchers have to have to make a study to this, or we have some solutions right now.
I think the simple answer is that both are good, but obviously if you have a more immersive, a slower experience, I think the effect is stronger.
Maybe you have another.
Dr. Lee is now researching about internal hormone, and I think addiction is the cause of endorphin, and the endorphin causes the addiction, and it will become higher and higher if we do something, and it will cause the addiction. And he is researching about the value of endorphin before and after the for therapy, and it is now ongoing. So I think you can see the result in the near future.
And once again, thanks to you, but Jaume is the chef organizer. I can allow, but if you want to go to the lunch, I can't see anything. Okay. I say we stop here, have a lunch, have a relaxing lunch, and come back after the pause.
Can you hear me? See? This is going ahead. Before lunch, we'll take the family picture outside in the hall, in the first one, close to the street. After that, we'll enjoy a nice meal prepared by Alginjule, organic and local food. And please take advantage of this space of lunchtime to connect one to each other. That's because I ask you to stand up and introduce yourself before talking, so we can see you and know you, and you can make connections. It's one of the goals of this Congress. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.